Shalom and welcome to our weekly Pearls of Torah, Pninei Torah, a program that is designed not just to study together, and as it says in Hebrew, Tovim Hashtayim min ha'echad, the two are better than one, to study together the Word of God, but to study it in a way that brings forward the Mashiach, the Geulah, understanding where we are in terms of prophecies. And today I have really a great guest with me, one of our own, Rabbi Steven Bernstein, who is one of our lecturers and leading rabbis in my book, at least, in the Messianic movement, who just has been here, dropped by to be with us, and we spent a terrific day together. So, Rabbi Steve, it's so good to have you here. I want to ask you, this Torah portion is a jam-packed Torah portion, Parashat Mishpatim. We're in the book of Exodus. We just read in last Torah portion, Parashat Yitro, on Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 Commandments, the 10 words have given, and you think that nothing can heighten it. And then it kind of seems like a letdown, Parashat Mishpatim. So he went from, God speaking to Israel, and there is a heartbeat to the Torah. Okay, there is some sort of a heartbeat to the Torah. So we're going from the Mount Sinai experience to Parashat Mishpatim, which seems kind of dull a little bit. You read about all the laws and the regulation, but there is some sort of a systematic heartbeat from going from Mount Sinai to Parashat Mishpatim. Before we get to the Torah portion and talk about some things that the Lord lays in your heart, let me ask you a question. What do you see in terms of this heartbeat of going from Parashat Yitro, Parashat Mishpatim? Is there a connection between those two? It's important that we read the portions in order for a reason, but perhaps the first thing is, is there any connection do you see between Yitro and giving the Torah to Mishpatim?
Yeah, we've got this huge experience where Israel actually comes before Hashem, and the elders and Moshe Rabbeinu come, lightning and huge loud shofar blasts and all kinds of supernatural occurrences.
Yes.
Now let's get down to brass tacks. All right, now you get who I am. Now let's really see how you need to behave.
So perhaps the way we can kind of look at that is in chapter 20 and perhaps even verse 19. They fall on their faces, they hear voices, and there are thunders, and they hear the 10 words. And God, in essence, recreating the story of creation. It says in Pirkei Avot, בעשרה מימרות articles, in 10 articles, God created the world. So we're creating this Sinai, but now there is a new chapter, in essence. There's a new beginning. So I like to think about this Torah portion in the terms of a new beginning, okay? The birth, but the birth not of an individual, but the birth of a nation. Perhaps Parashat Mishpatim can be looked as the birth of the Jewish people as a people to God. That's where they're to truly take this. So God now says, okay, I'm going to give you now, you in page 1. Let's turn the page. Let me tell you what this new birth is look like.
What's it going to be?
And interesting, you would think that the new birth start with Ahavat Hashem, right? We would think it start, honor the Shabbat. Honor, don't take my name, do not make a statue, kind of explaining it to us. But it's reverse. It's actually backward from the way he given it. And perhaps God is giving some sort of precedence to the order of his priorities in walking into Aseret HaDibrot. And the reason I think it's important is because today we perhaps put the focus, if I may be blunt to the people who watch with us or our audience to bring it along, is we need to look where the focus is that we have. So many people throw around terms Torah observant, Shomer mitzvot, whatever term we want to say. But the issue is really you have to deal with a focus. That's the word I keep on hearing. And we have to be aligned with God focus. What is God focus in this idea of a covenantal relationship?
And so here he changes gears and he begins to tell us.
Okay. So what is God focus? Starting kind of in the beginning of the Torah, verse 1, it's not start with you should love your God, actually. It's starting actually. Yeah. So what is a mishpat? We talked earlier, you and I, about this. But a mishpat, in the essence, has to deal with our vertical relationship or horizontal relationship.
This is our horizontal relationship, right? There's three kinds of commandments that are given in Torah. And the mishpat, and
so it's interesting. Our audience probably never even understood that. And we want to make sure that our audience really understood it. When we say Torah is compartmentalized of a vertical aspect and horizontal aspect, right? So break for us for a minute. The Torah is the way that.
Well, we just had the Asara Dibraya given to us,
right?
And 2 tablets. Why? Because the first tablet deals with our vertical relationship. That is between man and God.
Right.
And the second tablet, the commandments there, deal with man's relationship with man, as opposed to man's relationship with God.
Right.
These are the Mishpatim. And this is what this Parasha is dealing with and what it's all about. So we're not even talking about man's relationship with man. It's like the most important thing that God looks at us
right.
is our relationship with each other. It's not even our relationship with him.
So this is a very important, even I would say, halacha, deoraita. When we say deoraita, we're talking about scriptural halacha, that a vertical, a horizontal relationship actually take precedence over a vertical relationship at some level.
That's what the text is showing us. Then he begins the Parsha, and these are the Mishpatim. These are the judgment.
Right.
These are the judgments that you, speaking Moses, shall set before them.
Why is he used the term even here in the Hebrew lifneihem? Because something about a mishpat, it's have to do with a cooperability for all the children of Israel.
This is the rules. This is the rules of how you treat each other.
So he's giving us basically here the finer print of the other commandments that have to do with V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha.
Exactly.
This chapter, this Torah portion, actually deal with V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. It's deal with this. And I guess the question that we also have to ask ourselves, what is these rules have to do, perhaps a question we still need to ask, what they have to do with the coming of the Mashiach? There is a preparation here. There's a big preparation. So rather than going directly in line, let's skip around a little bit, because the first part of the Mishpatim really brings into focus a whole lot of things about Mashiach, but we kind of have to set the tone first. So there's a passage in the book of 1 Yochanan, chapter 4, it says, whoever claims to love God, yet hates his brother or sister, is a liar.
He's a liar.
For whoever does not love his brother or sister who have not sinned cannot love God who have not sinned. In essence, it's an argument of a kal v'chomer in some level here. If one does not have is a concept we need to learn that I think is so important and is not taught, especially by Goyim, those who from the nation have not been taught this. Us as Jewish kids learn this from a very young age, a concept that is called Ahavat Israel.
Right.
Ahavat Israel. And Ahavat Israel means you love a person because he's a Jew, basically. That it is. He's one of us, okay?
Respecting the community.
Respecting the community, but it's more than respect. Ahavat Israel is truly love. Truly love. And the interesting thing is, Israel, I would contend, is still not Israel. They still have not received, the covenant as Moses in the end of this Torah portion, given it, sprinkling the blood, until they have Ahavat Israel. If there is no Ahavat Israel, it doesn't matter what is our level of observance, it doesn't matter what we say, it does not matter. If there is no brotherly love, there is absolutely nothing. That's why the Torah does not start with the vertical, start with the horizontal. So take us through this. What do you see in this Torah portion, in the way we are to love one another, and what can we take as a word of Musar from this Torah portion this week?
Well, we established the rules. The rules are given to us. It's a bare outline skeleton. Okay, so if we look at verse 12.
Let's go to verse 12 and we'll pick. If you have your Bibles, feel free to join us. We're in chapter 21. Those who are joining the broadcast, Exodus 21, we're in verse 12. We already established that this Torah portion deals with Ahavat Israel, and it starts with the Mishpatim, which is a portion of the Torah, just as a recap, that deal with the horizontal relationship with one another. And it says here, Umakeh ish umet mot yumat, which is in English, maybe translated for us.
So it's whoever strikes a man so that he dies shall be put to death.
Okay. So what can we learn from this kind of cryptic command?
This is a mishpat with a capital mem. This is a mishpat. So if you strike someone so that he dies, you're going to be put to death.
Yes.
Okay. But there's a whole lot that surrounds this as far as the method and what has happened.
Okay.
That is implicit. It's not actually said. This is very simple. Whoever strikes a man so that he dies, he's to be put to death.
Yeah, it
Sounds simple.
It sounds pretty simplistic, yeah.
Until you actually apply it, right? So how do we determine if a man has struck another man so that he's put to death? How do we know, what if it's an accident?
Yeah, the Torah is
What if it's
the Torah is
when you think about it, this is very vague.
well, I think it's come up to the Hebrew word, and that's what's called study Torah, to look into linguistically even the word. It's used the word makeh. Makeh. So really the Hebrew, makeh, it's strike, but it's depending how you determine what makeh, to determine if the person is what, a death or not death in essence.
Right.
So
from this and from the Parasha last week, from Yitro, right? Here we have basically a judgment that's got to be determined by a court.
Absolutely.
There is no other way to do this. So Yitro, the father-in-law, said, Moshe, you're being stupid. Why are you sitting in front of these cases all day? Establish a court system so that with good people, godly men, so that they could be, and the really
actually give a qualification even for those people.
And so you hear the ones that get pushed up, you hear the ones that go through the appellate court, and finally you're the Supreme Court.
Yes.
So here we have a sentence outlining, a mishpat outlining.
Before we even get, I see where you're going, but I want to explain something to our audience. What you read this commandment, it seems to say it's pretty common sense. Somebody hits somebody, is going to punish for that. But please understand that the Torah, especially those commandments that deal with things that appear like very dry, have a deep spiritual meaning behind them. So here you read about strike, you need to ask yourself the question, what is so wrong with striking a person? Why is it something so severe as to even if he dies, why do you deserve that? I think there is something deeper in the Torah.
Responsibility.
Yeah, but the Torah is, and people misapply it. I guess the point I'm trying to suggest is this, Steve, that people think that the Torah is a set of regulation, do and don't. But before all of those things, the Torah is a law of Musar. law of ethics. And in order to apply ethics law, you have to have somebody to discern what is ethical, what is not ethical. And I think that's what you are kind of alluding to.
That's where we're going.
What is the law of Musar? You know, any court case that a Musar have to go through actually judges. So here, you already see the quote-unquote, the establishment of judges.
Right. Shofet. Shofet is the root of the word is the same as mishpat.
Right, and the Torah portion is called Mishpatim, Mishpat. Shafat is the root word, and it's come from the word judge. So where are you going with this, Steve?
Well, basically, see, this is telling us, this and Parashat Yitro, it's establishing a court system for Israel. It's establishing a very special court system for Israel that is based on the Word of God. It is based on Torah. So we have officers, commanders, men of God with specific qualifications that are appointed by Moshe. So if someone is killed, the case goes before the Beit Din.
Okay, what's known as a Beit Din?
The Beit Din, the court. And they make a decision. And they take into account all of the things that would be taken into account in a trial.
Okay.
And this court system continues through all of the Mishpatim, the horizontal mitzvot in the Torah.
Okay. We have a name for those people who are judges. They don't go to the Shoftim. In modern Judaism, they call a Dayanim. Somebody who is a Dayan is somebody who can judge a true legal case that involving a Jewish law. So really, you're having here establishing of Dayanim. Now, a person asks, why do we care? What does it have to do with us today in the 21st century? Where would you go with that?
Well, the Jewish court system is very, very important even in
And what does it
time.
mean for us today in the body of Messiah, really? That's a bigger question even to us.
So let's take us a little bit through history. Okay, so we go into the Babylonian exile. The first temple is destroyed. And we go into the Babylonian exile. And a group of men take control because the temple was the central thing in all of Judaism. And now it's gone. It's destroyed. And so this group of men called the Anshe Knesset Agdola, the men of the Great Assembly, which included a lot of the prophets that were there. Zechariah, Haggai, Mordechai.
People need to understand,
Daniel.
They were judges of some level.
They served on the Beit Dins. And they established the court system, reestablished the court system in the diaspora that kept us within our culture. It was a perfect picture of being able to live in the world, but not of the world.
So now you're touching on something that is very important. Those judges, in essence, pass what called as a din. A lot of those dinim turn to what we know as oral Torah in some form or shape. I think that's kind of where you.
This is how. So
now
much of the oral law was formed was in looking at these cases.
Oh my gosh,
before.
That's absolutely amazing, because there is so many people in the Messianic movement who say there is no such thing as oral Torah, and because Moses wrote everything, but somebody had to interpret, in essence, what Moses had said.
Each case is different. This is a prime principle in Jewish law, that every single case is different. Every case is different. We have guidelines, but we have to look at the individual people, the individual situation.
Absolutely.
Right? And then, as Yeshua, our Messiah, kept pointing out to us over and over, Torah, lead with compassion.
Right, that's right.
So that all of these rules go before the Beit Din, the situation, the people, they come before the Beit Din, and the Beit Din's responsibility is to follow Torah and lead with compassion. Whenever compassion takes you in a direction, that's where you have to go.
That's right.
You always lead with your heart. And wasn't this one of the main principles that Yeshua was teaching us?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's not hard, fast law. It's not always cut like iron. It's always, this is the idea. These are the people involved. This is a situation. Let's ask our chachmim.
So people ask, let me bring it to a practicality for a second.
Wonderful.
From practicality. People ask me all the time. It says in the scripture, call no man a rabbi, as an example. This is a very, very, very important verse people like to quote all the time. Is it permissible for us today, in the 21st century, to have quote-unquote rabbis, to have bedin, and I'm talking under the rulership of Mashiach, and to have a similar setting to a great assembly? Because when I look at the Messianic world today, we don't have it.
We don't have any of that.
Question: do we need to have it?
I think definitely. Definitely. Rav Shaul, Paul said, don't take your problems to the Gentile courts. What was he referring to?
That's right.
He was saying, keep it within the Jewish community. Have it judged by people that love Torah.
Amazing. So a person really, in essence, we all say we're Torah observant, but if in reality, perhaps we need to shake in even the definition of, if this is what the Torah, if this is what loving your neighbor as yourself is, it's been none of us really observe Torah today.
Not completely, no.
No, not completely, not at all, not the half of it, because we are not under any kind of judicial system to measure us under the and that's something, in the Orthodox community, I know they do have a judicial system, and that is something that is very, very.
And it sounds harsh.
Yeah.
But human beings, things happen. Things happen. He owes me money. No, I don't owe you money. It starts, this is mine. No, this is mine. The first lesson in Talmud is from Bava Metzia, and it starts with, this is mine. One says, this is mine.
It's the nature
and then we discuss, how do we know who this belongs to?
That's right. So I guess the question of Parashat Mishpatim is, we are in trouble now, Steve. You're telling us that we have to have a judicial system. We don't have a judicial system.
We don't. It's not there.
So what do we do? How do we rectify this? What is the solution?
You begin, you begin. You start. You begin small, but you begin.
So this is, in essence, a plea for the Messianic community today to establish. But somebody would ask the question, who is it that should sit on a bedin today? That's the question.
Well, we've already taken small steps.
Okay.
Within our community, if there's a problem, where do you go? How do you get the problem solved?
You go to the rabbi.
You go to the rabbi. And the rabbi here today is our representative of the Beit Din.
Okay.
Now, what if the problem is too great for the rabbi? Where do you go?
You go to his affiliation.
You go to his affiliation and an actual Beit Din, whether they want to call it a Beit Din or not.
Yes.
You go to wise people of greater authority, and you have a decision made.
Yes.
Okay, so we're on the way. It's, all is not lost. We may not be calling it, but this system has worked for us for millennia, and we're beginning, there's a beginning.
There is a beginning, but the one question I think that is left unanswered that I want to answer together with you is, why do we need it today? A person will say, why do we need a bedin today?
Oh, that is a terrific question. And I think if everybody stops and thinks, they'll immediately go, well, of course we need it.
Yeah.
Okay. The United States of America, a lot of people live in. People live in Britain, they live in Australia, they live all around the world. Okay? And there is not one court system that follows Torah.
Not a single one.
Not a single one.
Israel is the closest one.
Israel's closest.
Yeah.
But truly, even in Israel, there's political reasons why it doesn't follow Torah.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's what we need. God gave us Mishpatim, these judgments, these rules, so that we should follow them. And we should follow them and interpret them with compassion And that's why that court system needs to be there.
I would like to present perhaps another reason that have to do with a prophetic reason for this thing. The Torah portion today start with the word Ve'ele Mishpatim. Here are the judgment that you put in front of them. And then notice ambiguously in verse 2, it's appear ambiguously. If I deal with the loss with my friend, why is it starting? It is talk about the purchasing of the Eved Ivri, okay? And he give us a story of the Eved Ivri, that in 6 years he will work, and the 7 years is to set free. He is set free basically in the Shabbat, in the 7th year. The question, what is this understood? Let me take you for a moment with me for Isaiah 56. Yeshayahu 56. In Yeshayahu 56, we see something pretty amazing. It says this. So says Adonai, Ko Amar Adonai, Shimru Mishpat Ve'asu Tzedakah, guard the Mishpat, and that's I want to talk about this in a moment. This is a commandment from God. Guard the Mishpat, which are relationship with one another, and then do tzedakah. Tzedakah again is something that we do among each other. He said, because if you do those things, krova, from the word karov, it's close. My Yeshua, Yeshuati, krova, lavo, and my tzedakah will be revealed. There is a very important principle. God knows that when we set together a bed din, like on Sheikh Knesset, people say all the time, oh, we don't need this, but God says something completely different. He says, do those things in a framework, because when you do those things, I'm going to prepare my bed din. I will prepare my mishpat. I will prepare my tzedakah. In essence, what we're doing, he says, I know it's not perfect. I know it's not going to be perfect. But if you do those things and you prepare those things, I will then one step closer to my Yeshua. There is a law in all of Judaism. This is a law. There is a principle, entire Torah around this. And it says in the Midrash, Kol Am Israel Arevim Zelazeh. All of Israel is accountable to one another. Please understand that the Beit Din job have nothing to do with saying you're wrong and I'm right. This is not what it is around.
Right.
It's really around one thing that I think the purpose of beyond Parashat Mishpatim. Loving your neighbor means that there is accountability between me and you. The question each one of us have to ask today is who we're accountable to. It's a question of accountability.
If there's no accountability, there's no justice. It cannot
And
happen.
if there is no justice, by definition, there is no Yeshua.
There is no Yeshua.
And if there is no Yeshua, there is no Torah. You see, we just right by a minute redefine what it is mean to be a Torah observant. That's really where I want to get into today, my heart desire. Why we need a court system, which now we can take this to an extension, halachically speaking. People call us all the time, Stephen. They said, Rabbi Shapira, I observe Torah. My first question is, what community you are part of?
Right.
And they say, my community is my home. And the answer to this question is, how can a person say that they observe the Torah or they live a life of Mishpat without a community? Is it
by
possible?
themselves?
Impossible.
Cannot. You cannot.
Absolutely impossible. This is a very important principles, and we're giving you those principles today so that you will be challenged and be strengthened. Because at the end of the day, we want to see the Mishpat and the tzedakah of Messiah to come, so he will reveal himself. So God says, only when you do things in appropriate order, in my order, which have to do in a framework, then my tzedakah will be revealed. It's very important principle here to us. So here it says, look, I'm coming back to the Torah. The first thing it says, Ki tikne eved ivri. He's talking about a Hebrew servant. Why Hebrew servant? Why not another type of servant? There is a remez in the Hebrew here. The term in Hebrew, eved ivri, I want to challenge everything you thought about this before. Eved ivri, those in my yeshiva knows that because they went through the course. But eved ivri in Gematria is equal, Steve, to 358. The eved is the same as the Messiah. The one who is set free is the Messiah, okay? It's a prophetic picture of Mashiach. The very first thing is mentioned Mashiach because he's saying in essence, if you want to set free Mashiach, he's tzedakah. If you want to see Messiah come and establish Beit Din, and we know when Mashiach come here, there will be a great Beit Din. Here is the things you have to do. A, B, C, D, F, G.
Right.
The Mashiach called the servant of the Lord. So when I read those verses, Steve, I see a prophetic picture of us setting free the Eved Ivri. And who is the Eved Ivri? The one who called
Mashiach.
Now, let's take it a step further. In Yirmiyahu 23, the Mashiach is known by the name Adonai Tzidkenu. Now, please understand that when there is a court, there is a trial, there's two things that are going to happen in the trial. There are two outcomes in a Jewish trial. There is either going to be tzedek, or they're going to be the opposite of the tzedek. What does tzedek mean? Tzedek does not mean, it means truthfulness. The truth will come.
Justice.
Justice. The Lord known by the name Adonai Tzidkenu, which is the name of the Messiah. So he's ultimately going to bring that tzedakah to the world. But what I see in this Torah portion this week, in order for the Mashiach to come and bring his tzedakah to the world, we first have to exercise that tzedakah. Because we prepare the way for his tzedakah, and that's really what this is about. Assembling this prototype is a methodology for us to set the way for his revelation
and he
to come.
commands us over and over again to set the prototype, right? It says in Dvarim, it says tzedek. Tzedek.
Right. And Moses says in Shirat Hayam 2 weeks ago, he said, Mikdash Adonai Yadai Konenu. My hands has built the temple. It is not the temple from heaven. It's the temple here on earth. I am building it, not God. What does it mean? What? God is not going to be? Yeah, God is going to do his part. And this is a principle. When we do our part, God will surely do his part. So this is a very, very important principle for us to take on this issue of tzedakah. The Eved, without a doubt, Steve, is a picture of the Mashiach. When we will be at tzaddikim with Mashiach, the ultimate tzedakah of Mashiach will be restored unto the world. Do you see anything else you want to add upon those verses? Do you see anything else, Steve?
No, that's... Actually, yes, there is. Okay. Ki tikne eved ivri. Now, koneh is a very, very interesting word.
That's a great word.
It's translated as to purchase or to acquire.
It's much more. It's active.
It's active, but it's sometimes created.
Yes.
It's translated. There are several very interesting cases where God doesn't create, he acquires.
So it's amazing because I want you to listen to this verse kind of from a prophetic standpoint. In Isaiah 11, describing the last day, it says, Ve'aya bayom hahu, and it will be in that day, well, that's the day of Mashiach, Yosef. What Yosef from the word Asif, the festival of the ingathering, it's Sukkot. Yosef Adonai, Shenit, the second time, Yado liknot et Sharamo. The picture of a purchasing is a picture of God actually purchasing our. And it's not, hey, excuse me, sir, can I buy this? No, it is a forceful purchase and grabbing something. Say, oh, I want that. This is in my window. I want that. In essence, the Torah is telling us here that's the way we are to be with one another. When I want that, I'm going to grab my brother.
And what is the relationship of this behavior? Proverbs chapter 8 tells us God purchases wisdom.
Koneh. Yes.
Okay, it's not created.
Yeah.
Koneh, he purchases wisdom. This is wisdom.
Oh, that's right. So what does it mean for us? I guess the question, if God is the master purchaser,
yeah,
what does it mean to us to purchase one another?
Right, and ultimately Mashiach.
So just so people get this, because I'm sure we're going to get a lot of questions about, are you saying, Rabbi Shapira, that we're saying, guess what? Messiah purchased you by his blood. He purchased you. And if we are in equal covenantal relationship with him, just as he purchased to purchase Messiah, that is exactly what is you. You are to purchase him back. He given you, and now you have to return back and give him back. So this is a very interesting concept. Of the entire concept of Mishpat is really about what we call in Hebrew. And you see actually in the Torah later on, and people love those verses. Oh, they love those verses so much to quote those verses when it's talking in the Torah here about Midah keneged Midah. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. You know, people quoting those verses, but they always mean them in a negative context.
Exactly.
But those verses are not to be taken in a very negative context. You know, it's actually, there's a Kal V'chomer. Kal V'chomer, those of you who do not know what Kal V'chomer is the light to the heavy, or to one extreme to another extreme, to prove the point. Just as there is in the negative of eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, there is a positive aspect of the eye for an eye, for a tooth for a tooth. If Mashiach did this for you, and he gave his life for you,
so we must give our life to him.
You? Your love to Yeshua is through the horizontal, and that is amazing point. Through the Mishpat. So that's a revolutionary concept, really, if you think about it. Or willing to. That is the definition of a Mishpat. But he said it's not a vertical. The way one manifests his love to the Messiah is through those things, through the eye to an eye, the tooth for a tooth, but to do that in a way that you remember what was done. Because of the vertical relationship, the horizontal relationships need to be looked quite a bit differently.
And this is wisdom.
That is truly wisdom. Anything else that we see on the issue of Mishpat that we want to add? If you read through this thing, I want to get back to the original verse.
Okay.
Makei ish umet mot yumat. What is the spirit behind this verse? I want to read you from the Mechilta. Mechilta is perhaps one of the oldest commentaries truly on the Torah. The Mechilta says something interesting. The Mechilta says, if one strikes a man and he dies, he is to be put to death. What is the intent of this? It says this, and a man, if he strike any soul of a man, he must be put to death. The Mechilta answered a very interesting passage, a very interesting point. It does saying, strike you and you die. There is an oral interpretation, and it talk about striking a soul of a man, which mean what? You committed this.
You must be compassionate. You must be compassionate.
And I think you came back to this point. We started with this point of compassion. Friends, Torah really boils down to really honestly compassion, humility, and meekness. Those are the attributes of the Messiah, who was meek. It says riding lowly, a king lowly riding upon a donkey. Can you imagine any more meekness of a king riding upon?
Think about today. Are we going to see our presidents, our prime ministers? Are we going to see them riding on a donkey?
No. So our people might be watching this today and say, well, I'm a little confused. I don't have bed din in my synagogue today.
Right.
I don't really know where to go, but it's resonate with me. What can I do? What can I do in my messianic walk to help to prepare for God to reveal His Tzedakah? What would you say?
I'd say understand authority and the role of authority.
Yeah.
That authority is built into Torah. God gave us people to have His authority.
You know, I'm amazed sometimes at the way people write to each other. Even to me, some people write to me sometimes in such a way, in so disrespect, not just to me, to others. And I'm just kind of amazed, because in the Jewish world that I was raised in, at least, there is no talk like that to rabbis or teachers in any way or any shape or any form. So I think understanding authority, and that authority is given from above, is a great start. In the practicality, what else? Is there anything else?
The other direction.
What do you mean?
People are going to come to us, going to come to you and ask for your opinion, ask for your judgment, ask for you to act as a Beit Din. And the greatest lesson of our master is to always lead with compassion.
Lead to compassion is to understand this. I want to challenge this even further and say, when you look at a person lens, person you sin against, person you fight, maybe a person you commit even any transgression is, and close your eyes and imagine that the person who's standing next to you is actually Yeshua. That's what really this Torah portion is all about. That's, as shocking as it sounds, it started with the portion of Eved Ivri. In essence, every person that we pass a mishpat against is the Eved Ivri. And who is the Eved Ivri? Eved Ivri equal 358, equal the Mashiach. So imagine what will happen for a moment if we actually set free the Eved Ivri. If we actually set free Mashiach, then He can come and reveal to the entire world His tzedakah. And that's what we want. We want the Geulah. And notice something in the Torah portion. The Torah portion starts with this Mishpatim, and it's continued and conclude with the salvation of all of Israel. Notice the blood and the covenant and all of Israel receive a revelation of God. Notice that Israel did not receive the revelation of God until they receive the revelation of our horizontal relationship with one another. That's really important. Until the horizontal relationship with one another is not straight, and that's why Yeshua said so eloquently that one should leave his gift in the altar and go and reconcile with his brother. I can't think of a better, a more direct way to put this. What
Absolutely.
is Mishpat? Because the brother is actually the Mashiach himself. What does it mean to you and I? I believe that it means, first, if you're not part of a community, I pray that God will steer you to come under accountability. I think that's all start with this. And I would like to also remind everybody that Yeshua himself was under accountability of his Father. It says in the book of Luke that his tears, sweat turned to blood. And he says, is there no other way? But he had to submit. We all under accountability. You might ask, even are we as rabbis accountable? And I said,
even more so.
Absolutely, even more so. for example, for me, I'm accountable to my rep, to my other peers to teach with us, and our board members. We're accountable to others who are in equal spiritually yoke with me. That's very important. I urge you, I pray that you start this journey of Mishpat, okay, of Mishpatim, and it's starting with somebody holding you in line, somebody holding you in check, and that's what I see as a starting point. The Messianic movement, if we can talk about something current for a second, is filled with a lot of what I would consider rebellion. There's a lot of rebellion. There's a lot of
We're Jewish. We've always been rebellious.
Yeah, that's true. But in the Messianic movement, there's a lot of shtuyot and meshugas that you don't see in the normative Jewish world. And somebody asked me the question one time. It was a Christian who asked me the question: why the Messianic movement attract all the weirdos? And I think we find the answer today in the Torah portion to a degree. It's attracting a lot of people,
Mishpatim.
community and Mishpatim. And our prayer for all of us, that I hope you understand that when you get things in order in your life in terms of your horizontal accountability, then guess what is going to happen? In essence, you are helping to free the Messiah, the Eved free, to return back home. And that's really what it is all about. You are become the master purchaser of the Messiah, and that's what we want to see. Well, Rabbi Steve, it was such a delight having you here. What we learned, I know today was not an easy lesson, but I hope it's a lesson that will touch many people's hearts as we move forward in this establishment of this courthouse. Get involved in your local synagogue. Get accountable. If not in a synagogue, then even in a church, if you Hamas, just make sure that you are under accountability. Because when you do that, you in essence help to bring Messiah closer back home. We wish you all Shabbat Shalom. God bless.
Shabbat Shalom.
Litraot.